The cold was a physical weight, pressing against the canvas skin of the fuselage, seeking any gap in the geodetic frame to kill the men inside. Flight Lieutenant Arthur Artie Penhaligon flexed his gloved fingers around the yoke of the Vickers Wellington. They were numb, despite the sheepskin linings. Beside him, Pilot Officer Evans was a dark shape hunched over the navigation table, the glow of a pinlight illuminating the furrow of his brow. "Time to target, skipping?" Evans's voice crackled over the intercom, tinny and ghost-like. "5 minutes," Artie replied, his eyes scanning the instrument panel. The Pegasus engines were humming a steady, throaty rhythm, drinking fuel at an alarming rate to keep them this high over the roof of the world. Below them, the Caucasus Mountains were a jagged jawbone of white teeth biting into the moonlight. It was beautiful, silent, and utterly indifferent to the 6 men inside the bomber. "Clear sky ahead," came the voice from the front turret. "I see the water, Skip. The Caspian. It looks like ink." Artie shifted in his seat. Operation Pike. The brass in London called it the master stroke. The Finns were dying in the snows of Karelia, bled white by the Red Army. The French and British couldn't get troops there in time, so the War Cabinet had decided on a different approach. Cut the jugular. Destroy the oil. Stop the tanks. It was simple arithmetic. Without the Baku oil fields, Stalin's war machine would grind to a halt. The Red Army would starve. Finland would be saved. But as Artie looked out at the vast, sleeping shadow of the Russian Empire, the arithmetic felt flimsy. "Bomb doors open," Artie ordered. The hydraulic whine vibrated through the floorboards. "Doors open," the bomb aimer confirmed from the prone position in the nose. "Target acquisition. I see the towers. My God, there are hundreds of them. It's a bloody forest of iron. Baku, the Black City, the beating heart of the Soviet Union." "Steady," Artie murmured, fighting the crosswind. "Steady." They were not supposed to be here. Technically, Britain was not at war with the Soviet Union. This was an intervention, a strategic denial of resources. But Artie knew what it really was. It was an act of war against a sleeping giant, while they were already wrestling a wolf in the west. "Bombs gone," the aimer said. The aircraft lurched upward, relieved of its deadly payload. "Hang on," Artie whispered to himself. For 10 seconds, there was only the drone of the engines and the rush of wind. Then, the earth opened up. It didn't start as an explosion. It started as a sunrise, a violent, sickly orange bloom that erupted from the ground and swallowed the night. Then came the flashes, one after another, as the incendiaries cracked open the storage tanks and the refineries. "Direct hit!" the rear gunner was cheering. "Look at it burn! That's a bloody bonfire!" Artie banked the Wellington hard to port, looking down through the Perspex canopy. It wasn't just a fire, it was a cataclysm. The oil, pressurized and volatile, was erupting in geysers of flame that reached hundreds of feet into the air. The smoke began to rise instantly, a thick, roiling column of black that blotted out the moon. "Radio silence is broken," Evans said urgently. "I'm picking up Russian chatter. A lot of it. They're screaming." "Let them scream," the front gunner laughed, the adrenaline spiking his voice. "That'll teach Joe Stalin to pick on the little guy." Artie stared at the inferno. The light was so intense it illuminated the snow on the mountain peaks 50 miles away, turning the pristine white into the color of dried blood. He should have felt triumphant. He had just executed one of the most daring raids in RAF history. He had struck the blow that would save Finland. But as he watched the black smoke curl upward, forming a dark canopy that seemed to stretch toward Europe, a cold knot tightened in his stomach, colder than the air outside. They hadn't just destroyed a resource, they had humiliated a monster. "Skipper," the rear gunner's voice changed tone. "Flak, heavy stuff, and I see searchlights. Lots of them. Waking up the neighborhood." "Course set for Mosul," Artie said, his voice flat. "Full throttle. Let's get the hell out of here." He looked back one last time. The fires of Baku were raging, a wound in the earth that would not heal. The heat was so intense he imagined he could feel it through the glass. "We didn't cripple them," Artie thought. the realization landing with the weight of a tombstone. We just gave them a reason. The Wellington slipped into the darkness, leaving the world burning behind it.